This video will teach you how to name an ionic compound. Now, ionic compounds have two names, a first name and a last name. The first name is the name of the cation or positive ion, and the second name is the name of the anion or negative ion. We're going to use this chart right here. This chart is for naming an ionic compound, and the first side is for figuring out the name of the cation, the positive ion, or the first name of your compound. And then the second side is for figuring out the name of the anion, the last name of your compound. Let's begin with the compound CaCO3. So this is an ionic compound. Your first thing in the compound will be your positive ion. In this case, we have a single element, the metal Ca. And then the second thing will be your negative or your anion. And in this case, we have CO3. So two elements. So that tells us we have a polyatomic ion. So let's look at our chart. We start the chart on the cation side. We start with the top left-hand box, and we answer this question. It's a yes or no question. Is the cation a polyatomic ion? If the answer was yes, we would follow the yes arrow down, but in this case it is not a polyatomic ion. The answer is no, so we follow the arrow no across to the next question. Is the cation a transition metal or lead? Pb is the symbol for lead. And we look on the periodic table for Ca. Ca is here, which is in group 2. So it is not a transition metal, and it's not the metal lead. Therefore, our answer is no. So we move to the right, and the last box says, is the cation a metal from groups 1, 2, or 13? And yes, it is. It is in group 2. So we follow the yes arrow down to our instructions, which say to write the name of the element from the periodic table. So we go back to the periodic table, and the element's name is calcium. Okay, it doesn't say to add anything to it, to change anything about it. We're just writing the name calcium. And now for your anion. Big C, big O, 3. Two nonmetal elements bonded together, so we know right away we have a polyatomic ion, not a single element. So again, we're on our chart, but this time we're on the anion side. Starting at the top left corner. Is the anion a polyatomic ion? Yes, it is. So follow the yes box down, and it says, write the name of the polyatomic ion. So now you're going to look on your polyatomic ion list. If you don't have one, you should be able to find one in your textbook. So the polyatomic ion list shows CO3, 2 negative ion charge, and gives us the name carbonate. So that means calcium carbonate is the name of our compound. First name, last name, calcium carbonate. Now the next one that we're going to take a look at is LiBr. LiBr. So our positive cation is Li, single element, not a polyatomic ion. Our negative anion is Br, single element, not a polyatomic ion. So let's look at the chart. We can start on the cation name side, which is the first name. Is the cation a polyatomic ion? No. So we move one to the right. Is the cation a transition metal or lead? Well, let's look it up on the periodic table. So Li appears here in group 1, which means it's not a transition metal. So the answer is no. We move one to the right. Is the cation a metal from groups 1, 2, or 13? Yes, it is. So we move one down to the instructions, which say to write the name of the element from the periodic table. So the name of the element on the periodic table is lithium. So the first name of our compound is lithium. Now for the second name, Br. We go to the anion side of our chart. Is the anion a polyatomic ion? It's not, it's a single element, so we follow the no arrow to the next box. It says write the name of the element from the periodic table. Okay, so on the periodic table, Br is bromine. So we'll write bromine, but we're not done. You see there's a next arrow. There's a second step. Replace the end with IDE. So we're going to take off the INE for bromine, and we're going to replace it with IDE. So the second name of our compound is bromide. So whenever your anion, your negative ion, is a single element from the periodic table, we always replace the ending with IDE. So if your anion is any one of these elements, you have to change the name to IDE. So fluorine becomes fluoride, chlorine becomes chloride, iodine becomes iodide, astatine becomes astadide, selenium becomes selenide, arsenic is arsenide, sulfur is sulfide, phosphorus, phosphide, oxygen is oxide, nitrogen is nitride. So you don't take the name as is from the periodic table, you add IDE to it. Okay, for our third example, we're going to name Fe2O3. Fe2O3. So Fe is our positive cation and O is our anion. Start with the cation name. First question, is the cation a polyatomic ion? No, it's not. We'll move one to the right. Is the cation a transition metal or lead? Let's look and see where Fe is on the periodic table. You see iron right here in the center of period 4 in the 3Ds. It is a transition metal. So our answer is yes. So let's move down to the next step, which says to write the name of the element from the periodic table. So Fe is iron, so we're going to write iron. But we're not done. There's a couple other steps we need to do. The next thing we're going to do is uncross the numbers to get the original ion charge. So we go back to our equation, our formula, and we're going to uncross the numbers on the formula. That means we're going to take this 3 from the oxygen, move it back up into its original position, so that we now know that this iron originally was a +3 ion. Because remember, to get the formula, you dropped and crisscrossed the numbers. So that means that we originally had a 2 on the oxygen, 2 negative, and we originally had a 3 on the iron, 3 positive. So we uncrossed the number to find out that the original charge on the iron was a 3 positive. So the next thing we do is to write the ion charge as a Roman numeral. And the Roman numeral for 3 is III. So if you have an ionic compound which has a transition metal or lead in it, then you're going to have a middle initial on your name. and that'll be the Roman numeral for the ion charge of the cation. Now for the anion, is the anion a polyatomic ion? No, it's not a polyatomic ion. It is a single element. So write the name of the element from the periodic table. And so O is oxygen. And our next step is to replace the ending with IDE. And in oxygen, we cut off most of the name, the YGE in N, to make it oxide. Oxide. So iron 3 oxide is the name of the compound Fe2O3. And that is how you name an ionic compound.